In this video I'm going to answer a community question. So I got an amazing question by Andrea, who has a question about the following thing: stable and unstable notes. There was a chapter in the classroom about stable and unstable notes. Can you explain a little bit more about that? The way I understood that was C major chord can have the 2 note to C stable and the 4th note to 3 stable, the 6th note to 5 stable. Yeah, so but the other chords, D minor, E minor, F major, G major and A minor, can have their unstable notes too. The answer to that is definitely yes. So I will explain a little bit how it works, the stable and unstable notes. So let's just write the alphabet, something that everybody knows, right? We start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that is continuously, right? We're playing this, and then so in order to create a chord, we just let's pick a different color. For example, A, C, and E. And with that, you have your stable notes, essentially. Because with your stable notes, you can create a melody that sounds interesting, and unstable notes. So let's dive into that. Our chord here is A minor. The reason why it is minor or major is something I don't want to dive into this video. I assume that you, for anyone who is watching this video, and Andrea, by the way, is an amazing piano teacher as well. So I'm sure that you know this, that the A, C, and E is a minor. And yeah, let me just give an example. We're playing A red right now, which equals A minor. In the melody, I'm right now playing an A. That makes it stable. But if I play a B, it is unstable. Sorry for my handwriting. There's just not so much screen to write on. So the next tone I'm going to play is a C. Excuse me. And the C is part of A, C, E. So these are our stable notes: A, C, and E. Everything in between is unstable. Okay. So if we are talking about C major, C, E, G, then the C, E, and G are stable and unstable. And then let's go back to your question. So the way I understood that was that C major chord can have the 2nd note to C stable, the 4th note to 3, and the 6th note to 5. Yes, so that would result in this. You go from unstable to stable. And from the fourth note to the third note is also from unstable to stable. Same for 6 to 5. And you can do that for any chord essentially. So let's do this in A minor. Or from D to C, which is also unstable to stable. So you always look at the chord you are playing, and then from that chord you define if this is an unstable or an unstable. Unstable or an unstable. So it is not necessarily 1 3 5. One second. It's not necessarily 1 3 5. It is every chord tone. So what does that mean? If you are playing more complex chords, then it defines if the chord, if the tone, if the melody is part of the chord. So in a D minor 7, if the melody starts on the C, then the note would be stable. But in the color block method, we're mostly talking about triads, which means that we are usually only playing this. So every time the chord changes, the stable and unstable notes also change dynamically. It all comes down to, you can hear if it sounds consonant or dissonant, or in simpler terms, if it sounds nice or if it sounds with tension. So if I start like this, it sounds away from home. And this sounds like home, right? So if I play this, does it sound from home or does it sound home? This is where it gets interesting, because in the first 8 minutes we only talk about the theory, but it gets exciting when we're going to talk about how to implement this and how to play beautifully, essentially. So the whole thing about stable and unstable notes for me is that beautiful melodies are always a combination of unstable and stable notes, because stable notes allow you to come home from something, but unstable notes allows you to create tension. So if you have only stable notes in your melody, it sounds nice, but it doesn't sound like that interesting. Most children's songs have a lot of stable notes. They're easy to learn, easy to the ear and everything. But if you add unstable notes, you can create runs and you can create tension. You know? So this especially, does this create tension or does it sound like home? if I would stop right now, does it sound good? No. You want to hear this. Because our ears are developed in a way, because we as humans exist for so 40,000 years, and our ear is developed like that we like to hear this. And then this. Why is that? There are a lot of theoretical reasons for that. The overtone pattern is a big part of the explanation. We're not going to dive into that, but it means that everything we hear is based on frequencies and overtones, and yeah, that's how we perceive frequencies and music and tones, and that's how we can create different kind of music. Anyway, so back to the unstable and stable notes. I would like to give you an exercise for anyone who's watching this to try at home. We're going to play 4 chords, and I'm going to write them down. I'm very excited for this tablet thing because I can just write the chords on the screen. We're going to play C, F, D minor, and G. So C, F. In the last video I talked about that I like to play each chord twice, each color block twice. So that's what I'm doing right now as well. F, D minor, G. So let me write that down for you. I need to watch the screen a little bit. C, C, F, F, D minor, and G, and G. Okay, let's do that. By the way, this is exactly what I'm teaching in my paid program. But we're only getting there to play a melody with it. Okay, let's go. What we're going to do, this is going to be very exciting. In the right hand, we're going to play our first melody, but we're only going to play stable notes. In order for you to connect the dots in your brain to create stable and unstable notes, it's important to understand if you are playing a stable or an unstable note per chord. So what we're going to practice right now is to play first only stable notes. Then we're going to practice only unstable notes, but we're not going to spend too much time on that because that is more challenging. So I will give you an example. I give you 3 rules to follow. The first rule is to play only stable notes. The second rule is move whenever a note becomes unstable, you fix it by moving 1 to the right. So if I'm going to play a C, in the next chord, we're also playing a C because we need to play a stable note, which is part of F major. In D minor, there's our first problem, because in D minor, there's no C. So how do we fix that? We move our melody 1 key up. So to fix an unstable note to a stable one, you can only move the key 1 step up. Not down, not 2 steps up, not anything else, only 1 step up. When you do that correctly, it will sound like this. D minor. So I move to D. In G major, we also have a D. So we still play the D. In the next chord, we're going back to C. But in order to fix this unstable D, we need to play an E. We cannot go down because that's my rule. We only can go up 1 key. And then, when you execute everything correctly, it will sound like this. You can also play every chord once, then it will sound like this. C, F, D minor, G. Then we're 1 octave up. So in the right hand we literally only play the diatonic scale. And you can do this for any key. So let's say we play in A flat major. And now I again play the full diatonic scale. So, sorry, I had the wrong chord progression. This was A flat major. Let me write that a little bit better. Then we had D flat major. Then we had B flat major. Minor, sorry, B flat minor. Of course. And E flat major. So you can apply this to every chord progression, every scale, whatever you want. And this was the exercise where you only play the stable notes. I was saying that you only follow 3 rules. I'm just thinking that there were only 2. Is that correct? Let me think a little bit about it. So you only play stable notes and you only move 1 up. That's it. And you can continue for as long as you want. Literally, you can go until the keyboard ends. And this is such a valuable exercise for you to connect the dots in your brain, because your brain is getting used to all these different chords and which individual notes are part of the chords. And this will help you tremendously to start improvising with melodies in chords that you already know, or maybe you start to explore new chord progressions in different new keys and start to understand the scales better. So if you want to play the A flat diatonic scale, then this exercise will contribute for you to connect the dots. I hope that's helpful, because yeah, if you want to execute this whole exercise with unstable notes, it's even more challenging. It's even more helpful for the brain. The only disadvantage about it is that it will sound ugly. Because if you only play unstable notes, it will sound like this. And it sounds very strange and weird and etc. But in the end, that helps you also. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope this was valuable for you to improve on the piano, to improve, to contribute, to play away your stress on the piano when you come home from work, or whatever reason you have to play the piano beautifully. And let me know your questions. Join the community so you have the ability to ask questions like this, and I am more than happy to answer them in a video like that, or by chat, or in DM. And then we can have a conversation about how I can help you on the piano. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.